This is Reality Dispatch, written by Jim Mins.
Prince Dominic of Denmark had just snuck into the country. Literally. He told nobody and just jumped on a commercial flight and told Customs and Border Patrol that he was there on business and was just living on the Vegas Strip in the penthouse of the Tenacious, the 53rd floor, for 8 weeks. No one batted an eyelid. That was until a colleague of mine who works the slot machines had seen the entourage traversing up and down the gaming grounds and asked around. He was cluey enough to ascertain the name and rank of the little-known royal. They sent me an email the following Monday, and I was on a plane that Tuesday. I waited by the blackjack tables after checking into my own suite on the dime of Live magazine and drank free beverages without my camera by my side. You see, the way I see it, half the job is reconnaissance. I need to do my research, and you can't achieve anything if you scare away your subjects. So I sat down and drank a litany of free Southern Comfort and Cokes while throwing the dealer the occasional chip to keep the liquid rush flowing. That's the rules in Vegas. Everything is free. Only the gaming costs money. It is the intention of the casinos to give the illusion that they are providing a service to you. In reality, they are robbing you blind on the gambling. But everyone knows that, surely. It wasn't until Thursday that I laid eyes on the prince. He was coming down the glass elevators from the floor of his suite and surrounded by an entourage of muscled-up bodyguards. How the hell I was going to break through that wall was my only thought. As he exited the lift, he had a disheveled look on his face, like someone who had lost every day since he'd arrived. I needed to tap into that somehow for the story. I needed him to allow me to enter his inner circle to paint the picture of a lost heir. Why was he doing this? What did the royals back in Denmark think? What was the broader story here? The next in line to the head of state doesn't just wander into the United States unannounced and proceed to piss away his allowance. The wall of muscles followed him to every table. This drew the attention of the prostitutes who I would need to swat off if I was going to gain access myself. Lucky for me, his 8-week tenure had made him immune to their advances. He was placed at a $100 buy-in poker table at around 3 in the afternoon after a jam-packed morning of slot machines and craps. "Let me know if he moves, all right?" I said to Kevin, my slot manager friend. "I've got to get my camera." The pentax made not only his entourage cagey as I took my seat at their table, but the security of the Tangiers thought it suspicious also. They made a point of bumping up the surrounding numbers for our table, almost as if they suspected me of being a cheat. But I thought that was stupid. How could we cheat? It's poker, not blackjack. But then I thought about it longer, and it wouldn't be a stretch to position someone behind the dealer to grab a glimpse at the underside of the unflipped cards in the hold'em stack. Then it would be a simple task of transmitting a signal to the player via a hidden Morse code device. Or maybe a blinking system? Like a hard, long blink for the ace of spades. I was starting to daydream as the day progressed, not making sense to myself. Then I got hit with a baton charged with what felt like 1,000 watts of energy. A taser, right in the back, the middle of my spine. It almost ruptured my spleen, so the medic told me 48 hours later when I still couldn't walk. I woke up in an abandoned kitchen, tied to a dish rack. Opposite me was a bodybuilder type who was also dazed and confused. In fact, there were 3 other bodybuilder types. 2 were awake, and 1 was still unconscious. We were surrounded by hotel employees in navy blue jackets with the Tangiers insignia emblazoned on their breastcoat pockets. A gentleman in a sharper, tailored suit stood in the middle of them, lighting a cigar as he waited for us all to come to. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the last of us tied to a separate dish rack on wheels was Prince Dominic of Denmark. "You're here because I want to know how you skimmed the system," the suit began to explain as the prince came to. "I want to know how you did it, and I want to know who sent you. When I get this information, I will let you leave, but not a moment before." The navy jackets began cracking their knuckles and their necks. "Oh yeah, and if you don't tell me, these boys will go to town on you." We were silent. I could tell there was fear but also confusion in the Danes' faces, like they couldn't understand the language quite clearly. "Excuse me, sir," I began. I'm not with them, but I can tell you they would not be ripping off your casino, I tried to explain. How the fuck would you know? The suit spat back. Because that man there is the Prince of Denmark. I know because I am a journalist for Live magazine. If you look in my left jeans pocket, you will see my credentials. I had a camera here somewhere. I'm here to cover a story as to how the head of state of a major European country snuck into the United States and managed to live in the penthouse suite for over 8 weeks without anyone noticing. I blurted out as quickly as I could. I figured my story was convincing enough to be so outlandish that it had to be true. Who would make up such a thing? The room went silent. The blue jackets looked to one another. The sharp-dressed suit looked at the prince, who by this time was awake. He looked back at his captor and gave a nod. Strangely, next thing I know, the brutes who guarded the prince removed themselves from their so-called bondage and stood up straight, aligning themselves with the navy jackets who stood adjacent with them, brothers in arms. The Danish prince himself, standing to attention. He was not held against his will either. The only one who seemed to be in bondage was yours truly. It was a ruse, an elaborate hoax. The prince walked over to me. We just wanted to know who you were, he said. I've been getting a lot of threats lately, and my team are extra cautious of unknown faces. This seems to be the best way to ascertain information from people that do not look familiar to us, he said with a grin. The henchmen began to laugh as they patted each other on the back for a job well done. I hope there is no hard feelings, mister? Dayton, I said. Roger Dayton. And with that, the prince walked behind me and untied the nylon rope that bound my arms and legs to the racks of the unused kitchen. Come on, I'll buy you a drink, His Highness offered. I attempted to walk, but a pain seared up my back. It would be 52 hours before I would be able to have that drink. A short stint in the hospital made for interesting small talk with the prince as we sat side by side at the blackjack table that weekend. A small price to pay for a secured interview.
For more stories of fact-based fiction, head to jimmins.substack.com.